Fantasy baseball, defined as a game where participants act as owners to build a team that competes against other fantasy owners based upon the statistics generated by real players from professional baseball. But for the estimated 32 million of those who play, it's something much more. It becomes a way of life. Friends and relatives become the enemy in a war where the only objective is victory. I'm the Admiral, and these are my co-hosts, the General,
How are you?
and the Commish.
How you doing?
Welcome to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com.
Glad to be here.
Did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Okay, folks, this is our first show, and we want to let you know that this is going to be an interactive show. We'd like to hear from you, get your thoughts, your questions. You can reach us at 855-466-7284. You can also reach us on the chat box here on the Enravio website, and you can also tweet us now.
Absolutely.
You can tweet us
We welcome
at
your tweets.
Admiral Code Red,
At
General Code Red, and the Commish Code Red. So here we go. We're going to start off with this week's news from the fantasy world. Greg, you have something you want to update us on?
Yeah, you got a couple of injuries this week. We have Hanley Ramirez is actually down with another hamstring injury, so his time back wasn't very long-lived.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, that's an interesting one for me because I almost traded for Hanley. Earlier this week, I had a deal on the table. Hanley was one of the principals in the deal, as well as I was giving up A.J. Burnett. And it turned out to be one of those deals where it works out well that you didn't make the deal. Hanley going to be on the shelf for a while with a hamstring injury that looks pretty serious.
Yeah, Mattingly says he looks like he's going to miss some significant time there.
So
Yeah.
with Ramirez at this point now you've got two injuries. And it looks like we're off to one of those types of seasons where, you know, he'll come back and then he'll get hurt again. So it's like you're almost looking at half a season right now going forward with him. So
Yeah, Dodgers are a little bit of trouble because they still got Crawford out. He's undergoing an MRI because he's another one with a hamstring injury over there. So LA is for a team that on paper looked really good at the beginning of the season. They're having some injury
and didn't
issues.
they have
Yeah.
Matt Kemp had the hamstring last year?
Yes.
So
Yep.
now we've got their three major players. I think it's time to fire the trainer and start over again. That's where we're
Good
at.
news on the injury front. We got a little scare this week from Mr. Bryce Harper, who we thought we were going to lose for a little while, but fortunately he worked his way through that, and he's good to go. So personally, I'm happy to hear about that.
He's a tough kid, very tough kid.
Tough kid and off to a great start. Okay, we're going to take our first call. Who do we have? I'm sorry? Tony from Shamokin, Pennsylvania. Where is Shamokin? Tony.
I'm sorry?
Where is Shamokin, Pennsylvania?
From Shamokin, Pennsylvania. Where is Shamokin? Tony. Hey, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
There he is.
Right now.
Listen, you have the dubious distinction of being the first caller ever.
Hey, listen, I got a question for you guys.
Go ahead, what do you got?
Hey, what's going on? There he is.
Yeah, you got to turn off your computer.
Hey, listen, I got a question for you guys. Go ahead, what do you got? All right, listen, I'm about one or two moves away from destroying my league here. Oh, okay.
What do you got? What do you need?
Hi, are you there?
Yeah, we're
We're
here.
here. We're broadcasting to the world.
6.8 billion people right now.
Are you guys there?
Yeah, what do you got? What's on your mind?
Can you hear us, Tony?
I think we're having some technical difficulties with the phone call. We'll have to come back to you. Call in again, okay? All right, so back to the news. What else do we have going on this week?
So, along the same old injury lines, we got Chris Davis. He left Friday night's game against the Angels with another apparent right knee injury he's got there, it seems. And
Chris
also-
Davis, a guy off to a rip-roaring start.
Yeah, I mean, just off the charts, you know. But now with him injured as well, I think his is minor the way it looks to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't worry yet if you're a Davis owner at this point.
And also, another hot guy is Dexter Fowler. He also...
Dexter Fowler.
He has a hip flexor injury. So.
8 or 9 homers already for Dexter, right?
Yes.
Wow. Big news also out of the Rockies camp. They signed Roy Oswalt to a minor league contract. We may be seeing Roy up soon. Not sure which Roy we're going to get.
Yeah, well, you don't want the Roy that, gives up a zillion hits. The Roy last year didn't walk anyone and struck out a guy per inning.
Right.
But he gave up a ton of hits. But listen, he's worth a flyer.
I'll tell you,
worth
he's
a
still
flyer.
relatively young, Roy. I mean, he's, what is he, 34, 35 years old? He's really should have a little left
He's
in the
young
tank.
enough where you take a flyer on a guy.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had a lot of innings logged. He hasn't had really any injuries. Really, for him, it's just going to be get in shape over the next, 4 weeks, whatever it is, a few starts. Starts going 5-6 innings, and you see where you go from there. The state of the pitching right now, if you're in a deep league, you have nothing to lose by taking a flyer on Oswald.
Yeah.
He's a good fifth star with some of the fifth stars they got.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Although I would caution you to be careful about any pitcher pitching in the rarefied air up there in Colorado. You want to be a little extra cautious. So moving right along, we've got some other big news this week. One of the pitchers that has really gotten off to an amazing start, and now there are rumors swirling. Mr. Clay Buchholz.
Oh.
There may be there's some talk now that Mr. Buchholz might be helping himself out a little bit.
Yeah,
Doc-
a little glistening on that forearm he's got there.
Well, I'll tell you, judging by the numbers, I mean, the guy's just off to an amazing start, and you kind of almost have to wonder where that came from. Maybe there's a little something to this.
You guys know how I feel about that type of cheating. I'm all about that type of cheating. I'm not into the steroid cheating.
Now,
That I'm not
this
into.
guy's into the was it the
But
Chili
I gotta
Davis
tell you,
method of
what-
cheating?
Chili-
Chili
General
Davis,
motto?
Chili Davis said it best, and I have to give credit where credit is due. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And now, so if he's putting a little something on that ball, I'm all right with that.
Well, if you've seen the last game he pitched, that ball is moving something wicked into the.
You know, I have to tell you, I'm not big into cheating, but in this in the era of the steroid use, you almost have to find a way to level the playing field if you're a pitcher, right? I mean, these guys are, if they're not doing steroids, they're doing something.
Listen, corked bats and a little Vaseline on the ball is good, clean fun. in my
Speaking of
book.
which, I don't know if you guys heard this. I actually caught this on the news yesterday, but apparently they found an old Mickey Mantle baseball bat, and they examined it and found that it was drilled and corked.
Why not?
Mickey, the Mick.
Mickey, come back to us, Mickey.
Damn. So, but it's been an interesting week. We've had the National League pitchers or National League and American League pitchers and players of the month being named, and Chris Davis obviously was the National League, American League Player of the Month. Hit .348, 9 home runs, 28 RBIs, 19 runs scored, just off to a scorching start. Over in the National League, we've got Justin Upton, who has 12 home runs already. What an investment by the Braves in picking this guy up, because he's just off to a crazy start. The pitchers, we talked about Buchholz a little bit. 5-0, 1.19 ERA, 1.01 WHIP, 39 strikeouts. Guy's been unhittable.
Fantastic.
And over in the National League, the pitcher of the month, a man that I have a major man crush on right now, is a Mets fan, I have to say, Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey, folks. I mean, this guy was.
I'm speechless.
We got a call from Krusty.
Oh, we're going to take a phone call. Krusty.
Krusty
from Copeg. We got an old lady here or what? Krusty, you on the line.
I can barely hear you guys.
How about now? You got us now?
Anyways, I wanted to tell Willie Nelson I love all his music.
Well, listen, man.
And also,
We almost had Tony from Shamokin as our.
I wonder if you guys would pick up either Philip Humber or Jorge De La Rosa.
I want Humber right now. I want that big fat ERA sitting right there on my roster right now, right here. If he can get out of the first inning, we'll go from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Krusty. I was actually on the De La Rosa gravy train for a while. Picked him up. He had 2 excellent starts for me, and then wound up hitting the wall. The last 2 starts, he's really had a tough time. So I actually just dropped him. So I think of your 2 choices there, I'd go with Plan C.
Good luck with Humber. I think you might be able to pitch a little bit better than he can at this point in time.
Thanks for the call, Krusty. We're actually, as I was about to say, you have the dubious distinction of being our first caller ever on Fantasy Baseball Code Red. You'll be a trivia question answer one day, right?
And Tony from Shamokin will be a footnote to that trivia question.
What
He
could
will
have been
become the Pete Best of the first call ever made to the
the
show.
Wally Pip? What could have? What could have been? All right, so that's it. We've covered pretty much all the news. You
Well,
guys
can
have
I
anything
just
else?
mention
Oh,
something about Chris
please,
Davis
please
while
do.
we're on the subject? This is the guy that I was on board with a couple years ago, and I went to the Chris Davis well once. He didn't succeed in the majors. I gave him a second chance. He didn't succeed again, but I knew there was something there, and he finally broke through last year. And now what's happening now is basically what I was looking for a couple of years ago. I was way out in front of it, but he's there now. And you know how I feel about Chris
I was
Davis.
gonna say, when I saw the start he got off to this year, I was like, the general must be kicking himself
I
because he
suffered.
drafted him like the last 3 years.
I
in a
suffered
row.
him. I wasted draft picks on him. I did it all, and it's happening now. And I wish him well because he's really turned it around. Never really got a chance when before, but when he got to Baltimore, things turned around for him with Buck. So good for him.
All right, we're going to get into our first regular segment. We're going to do a who's hot and who's not kind of thing. We're going to separate them because we've got a lot to talk about in the first show since we're kind of a month into the season. And we're not going to do a short-term look at who's hot. We're going to kind of take a look at who has been hot and is just off to a good start this season. We're going to take it by position, so we'll start off with catchers. Big surprise here, fellas. Big surprise. I mean, we've got a guy who, you know, if I asked you, you know, who would have the most home runs by a catcher right now, you'd say Posey, you know, maybe Willen Rosario, but it's John Buck.
The buck stops here.
The buck stops here. We got a lucky buck for the Mets. I mean, it's amazing. This guy, you know, stats through Thursday's games. I mean, he has 264 batting average, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs, and he went deep again last night.
Yep, again last night.
You know, it's funny. This guy has more home runs right now than Cabrera, Kemp, Josh Hamilton, and Jay Bruce combined.
That's unbelievable.
So, how about that?
I don't know if you saw the one he hit at the Marlins News Stadium into that.
it was a
Mets,
bomb.
as Howie Rose called it, the Technicolor nonsense. Buck just went flamingo.
I tell you what, it was a bomb. And you know, the guy's always had a little bit of power, but,
Yeah.
you know, I'm thinking he's like a career 236 hitter, really, you know, didn't warrant a lot of playing time, came to the Mets really as a seat warmer for Travis d'Arnaud. And, you know, d'Arnaud's now out for about 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot. And we've got a little bit of an injury history building on that young man's, you know, career. But right now, if Buck is out there, jump on him,
Yeah,
grab
he's
him.
not going to be out there, but
You know, ride the wave while you can.
He's probably looking at a career year anyway. I just take a quick look at his numbers over the years. He usually plays about 110, 120 games. He's going to end up at the pace he's at, based on his history. He's going to end up somewhere in the 20 to 25 homer range, and probably not more than 70, 75 RBIs. But
Right,
still,
but
at that position,
Career year for him.
where he probably was drafted, I'm assuming it was probably late rounds. That's going to be a great pickup for someone somewhere, either through draft or if he's a free agent, even better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he was a good late round pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. So at first base, we already talked about this guy, Chris Davis, just off to an amazing start, and he appears to be the real deal.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable this year. I just can't get over it. 9 home runs, 29 runs batted in.
probably still strikes out too much, but it's not really a big deal if you're getting that kind of production.
Well,
anyway.
listen, you know what? When you're hitting 337, I don't care how many times you strike out. Second base, we've got Robbie Cano, who's just off to his typical great start, can have a big year, walk year, right?
He's hitting laser beams all over the place.
Yeah.
Right
I'll throw Utley at that too. He's kind of come back from the dead here.
He
right?
has, another guy who really isn't that old, so maybe
No.
34 years old, but
A lot of knee problems in the past, and this year he's stealing bases and everything.
yeah, he's actually been pretty useful. Shortstop, we've got Tulowitzki, no surprise there. Just a guy that consistently, does the job.
You just want him to stay healthy. 'Cause
Yeah.
That
That's the key
seems to
with
be
him.
the issue right now with Tulo is, we're getting further away from the 330 average and the big homers and the RBIs, and we seem to be talking more and more about the injuries.
Yeah.
It'll be there. The consistency will be there if he plays. He'll put the numbers up, but he's got to stay healthy. I worry about that guy.
Yeah, I always, every year, especially in the first round, he comes up, and you have a shot at him, and I'm fighting with myself. Do I take him because I know I'm probably not going to have him for half the year?
Yeah.
So
Well, I took him first round this year, and so far so good. But
And when you have him, though, it's fantastic, right?
well, you know what it is. I mean, there's such a scarcity at the shortstop position. There are 2 or 3 elite players, and then it's all downhill from there. But at third base, we've got a couple of the usual suspects. We've got Miguel Cabrera, just off to a torrid start. He's hitting like 373. Not a lot of home runs yet, but 30 RBI already. I mean, the guy's just he's off to a 6 start.
He's consistency and money when it comes to fantasy. Every year, you're getting at least 30 homers, over 100 runs batted in, and 300.
Yeah, perennial first overall pick in a lot of leagues.
He was the guy that if you wanted to make that safe first pick, if you had the opportunity,
Yeah.
if you wanted to take the chance on Mike Trout, you could have done that. And the jury is still out on where that pick is. But a lot of guys opted for the safe pick, which was Cabrera. Now, Trout is just starting to heat up a little bit right now. I have a very sneaking suspicion that we are not going to see 50 stolen bases out of Trout. I think you're going to see with Hamilton in that lineup, Pujols in the lineup healthy, if he stays healthy, you're not going to see 50 stolen bases out of this guy. You're going to see 25. That's what I feel. But anyway, if he still produces the numbers, it's still going to be, he'll be a good if you have him for a first-round pick. But, Cabrera right now was the safe pick, and he's producing like he was last year already. So.
Yeah. Another guy worthy of mention at the third base position is Pablo Sandoval. First of all, the guy is an elephant.
Kung Fu Panda?
The Kung Fu Panda. I think he came into camp this year at about 260 pounds, but he's doing the job. He's hitting, 320 something. He only, I think, 4 home runs.
Is he hitting his weight? Because I think that's
He is, but he's.
No, I'm saying he weighs 320. That's what-
Well, he's working on that actually.
he doesn't eat himself out of
The
baseball.
weight's going to come up a little. The average is going to come down a little, and he'll be right there.
God, I can't
But
believe
yeah,
how I was
327, 23 runs batted in. Off to a good start. Outfielders. A lot of outfielders off to a good start this year, but the ones you have to mention, Justin Upton just off to a fantastic start. Bryce Harper,
No sophomore jinx.
no sophomore jinx.
No, he's off.
This guy is going to be money for a long time. If you have him and you're in a keeper league, you're set with this guy for another 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, right now he's hitting 323, 9 homers, 18 RBI. Just the guy's money in the bank, and he's tough.
The question about Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, I would think, is that the comparisons. One guy's the National League, one guy's the American League. Everyone's saying Trout's a much better player, this and that. We don't even know where we are today with that. You're not
Listen,
going to know that.
I
for
would
20
argue that.
years.
I would argue that point. I mean, I think Trout is an amazing
But you
player.
really don't know the answer to that.
You don't.
today. You will know probably in a year or two more of them playing. We'll know which guy is the better
Right.
player.
And you never know what's going to happen with these young guys, because what happens is, we're talking about a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
This guy's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get more experience at the major league level, and who knows, what he's going to produce when those things happen.
They're 2 special players. I mean,
And
and
their
Harper plays the game all out just like Trout does. They play it the right way, the old school way.
Yeah.
We're used to seeing guys like George Brett and them play, right?
Yep.
And he might be a little bit cocky, but he backs it up.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're backing
He
it
is
up,
a little bit cocky.
We haven't seen anything really. I
No,
don't think,
he hasn't
I don't
been
think
too
we've
bad
seen
since he
anything at the
came to
major
the
league
majors.
level.
Yeah.
We had a couple of incidents at the minor league level.
Right.
And there were some whispers at the collegiate level, which was a sham. His college career was basically an end around to try to get around the amateur rules for baseball players. But we haven't seen any of that at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have a lasting millage on our hands with him. A Greg Jeffries who was basically ostracized from his own clubhouse, and Millings, was funny. I mean, I remember I think they hung a sign on his locker, "Know your place, Rook." I mean, you break it into the big leagues, you got to kind of feel your way through a little bit, and But so we've got him, we've got Dexter Fowler. Off to a tremendous start. I mean, the power is suddenly showing up with this guy.
Finally,
and,
right?
Yeah, unfortunately we've got the injury to deal with now, but 305, 8 homers already, 4 stolen bases, 21 runs scored. He's off to a great start. Hopefully the injury won't be anything too serious. With starting pitchers, it's funny. We have a lot of the usual suspects here that you would expect to be off to good starts. Verlander, King Felix. We've got Who else? Kershaw,
Kershaw.
Wainwright even. Although Wainwright was a little bit of a surprise, he's obviously fully back from his Tommy John surgery, and I think we can expect to see the Wainwright of old.
Yeah.
But some surprises, Matt Harvey out of the box, just unbelievable. I mean, this guy, 4-0
Unbelievable.
for the Mets, 4-0, 1.56 ERA, 0.82 WHIP. 46 strikeouts, 21 hits in 40 innings pitched. And honestly, the guy could easily be 6-0. If you got a little run support, the guy could have been 6-0.
I think you got to temper your enthusiasm a little bit. And the only reason I say that is that in the first month of the season, I think you have a lot of guys with big pitching stats, big pitching numbers, and they're pitching in bad weather. The hitters have a disadvantage in that situation. Pitcher
that's
has
true,
an
yeah.
advantage. There's no way he keeps the pace up. Don't get me wrong. The guy's going to be a stud, be a solid pitcher probably for many years to come for the Mets. But
Right.
you can't be expecting a guy to go, 23-4 and reel off 225.
Right.
That's
Well, I think the early comparisons to Verlander are a bit premature.
a little bit.
What I love about him, though, is he's got a lot of poise for a young kid
lot
up
of
there. He
poise.
stands
A lot
up
of
there like
doubt.
he's been in the league for 5 years, and he's not intimidated by any one of those
Not at
hitters.
all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. A couple other guys, Matt Moore, 5-0, 1.13 ERA, 0.88.
He got roughed up a
Another
little
one of
bit
my
last
guys.
night, yeah.
He did get roughed up a little.
He got roughed up. a
But no,
little
you're
last
right.
night,
He's fantastic season.
Yeah,
so far.
top prospect. Another guy, Yu Darvish, who appears to be for real, unlike a lot of the imports that we've seen. A lot of them don't pan out over here, but 5-1, 58 strikeouts and 38 innings pitched.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that's
guy
crazy.
appears to be the real deal. A couple other guys to mention that might come as a surprise for a few people. Anibal Sanchez, 3 wins already. Jordan Zimmerman, 5
Well,
wins.
just back up to Sanchez for a second. What we're seeing with Anibal Sanchez with these strikeouts is off the charts too.
Yeah.
This is not his normal game.
Right.
I mean, we're getting K production out of this guy that's ridiculous right now. So keep an eye on that because
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I mean, he appears to be another ace in the making in a very deep rotation over there in Detroit. I mean,
Without
he's
a
their
doubt.
4th or 5th starter right now, but he's pitching like an ace.
without a doubt. And he was another guy that was probably, I'm going to guess, mid-round type of a draft, maybe 12, 13, 14. I doubt he was picked in the first 8, 9 rounds of a draft anywhere
Right.
out there. So you're getting big value out of Sanchez right now, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Zimmerman, a guy that I love. I've got him in several leagues, and although a little light on the strikeouts, but all the other numbers are right there. I mean, this guy is just a dominant pitcher, and pitching for a great team in a great park. I would definitely keep my eye on him. Tony Cingrani.
Oh.
I'm gonna hand this one over to you. This guy is our resident
Hey,
resident pick up the young guy and run with
well,
him.
here's the thing with these guys like Cingrani, and there's a bunch of them now in the majors, and this is a trend over the last few years where these guys come up and they pitch lights out. Well, they get bombed, but the thing is with these guys that you pick them up, they go out and pitch great, but you have to always remember that these guys are short window guys. They have innings caps. They could help you, from May until August. And then you got to start thinking about where you're going to be with these guys come September, because there's a good chance they're not going to be pitching in September. They're capped out at 150, 175 innings. So enjoy it while you can and grab these guys and give them a shot if they're going to stick in that rotation. And with Cingrani, I don't know if he's going to stick or not. Cueto's had a setback. I don't know when Cueto comes back how you can sit this guy down. You probably can't.
Well, listen, Cingrani has given them no reason to sit him down at this point, or
No.
send him down at this
He
point.
should.
You're going to see Leak go into the bullpen.
I think you're going to see it. I think you're right.
Yeah, I could see
think
that
you're
happening.
right. But you take a flyer on some of these guys. If they put up some kind of numbers in the minors and they look like they're going to get an extended chance, maybe 3, 4, 5 starts, you take a shot, you see what happens. You may end up with a guy that may be better than the guy you drafted. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what's happening now? I think the trend in fantasy baseball is that leagues are going deeper. They're either expanding the number of players in the league or they're expanding the rosters. So when you used to be able to pick up a guy on the waiver wire that might have been able to help you. Now there's nobody out there.
No.
And you're looking for a guy like Cingrani, you're not going to get him unless you're proactive and you kind of picking a guy like that up ahead of the game. If you wait for him to pitch a game or two, you're not getting him. He's
Well,
gone.
that's the problem with these guys. When you try to grab these emerging players and you wait till after they've had the good start and they're available in your league, now the whole world's out there picking them. You have to, but you're going to burn moves. You're going to burn moves with. I picked up the guy pitching for the Dodgers today, Matt McGill. Now, McGill had a great start. He's going to replace Lilly today. He's got great minor league numbers. He's got good strikeout per innings numbers. He's had a pretty solid minor league career. He may stick. I don't know. He may be one more start and he could be out. You don't know. But it's almost like you're betting on futures, and that's what you got to do, because you're not going to get that player. If you didn't draft that guy, you're not going to get Tony Sangrani stats off the waiver wire from the retreads. The retreads aren't going to give it to you. It ain't going to happen. So you're better off taking the gamble, hoping the guy pitches well, even if it's only for
You
8
have to,
starts.
because not only the roster's deeper now, but I think the quality of the fantasy baseball player has improved. I mean, people are more knowledgeable now.
I mean, look at our league, right? We've been doing
Yeah.
this since the late 90s,
Right.
early 2000.
And guys come in, they're more knowledgeable, they're more competitive. And,
Well, I helped educate them all. And that's how this whole, that's how everyone got all their knowledge.
Nobody loves
You
himself
guys
more
would
than
just,
a general.
if you guys would just listen to me more
You'll
often,
come to
you
learn
wouldn't have
that
any
in
problems.
about 8 minutes. All right, we're going to do the relief pitchers, and then I think we may have to go to a commercial break. But, a couple of guys just off to great starts, and a little bit surprising. Jason Grilli, Pittsburgh, 11 saves already. Sergio Romo, a guy that I kind of shied away from in the draft because there was still talk of the closer by committee, and was he going to be the guy every single night? And apparently he is. And I'm going to let you take our last guy, Mariano, who's just, being Mariano.
He's just continuing where he picked.
How old is he now? 42?
He is 42, I believe.
42 years
So
old.
he's going to finish up an awesome career.
I think
right
he's
here and
11
now.
for 11 already this year in saves. Getting a strikeout per inning. Just
he doesn't age. He's like Nolan Ryan
He's ageless.
was.
Yeah.
He's just showing you though
freak
how
of nature.
difficult it is to pitch at, to be a closer. It's unheard of this many years. Most closers have a lifespan of 4 solid years or maybe 5 solid years, and then you start dropping off. The whip disappears. Can't get anybody out. They get blown saves left and right. This guy's been doing this since, I'll count 96, even though that was John Wetland's year, since 1996.
Yeah.
That is ridiculously unheard of for a closer.
Yeah.
To me, the guy's just, he's probably the main reason for that team all these years.
yeah,
is him.
and he was a guy that they worried about. Whether he'd be durable enough to go out there every night and be the closer. When he was a setup man for Wetland, that was the concern. But
He's probably the one closer that I would actually waste a draft pick on.
Yeah.
Because we know the general calls it the save circus.
Right.
Because once the season starts, that's it. Everybody's switching
I
chairs.
read a stat for last year's closers that I think 60% of the guys that were closers on opening day turned over by midseason.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
So it really is a waste to unless it's Mariano, of course, to pick a closer anywhere near the middle to beginning rounds. I mean, towards the end, maybe the last 2 rounds, you might want to start looking at it.
all right, so we're going to remind everybody, we'd like to take your phone calls, hear what you have to say, 855-466-72, 446-7284. You can also log in and, post your comments and questions on our chat box. We've got the lovely Christine, our producer in the control room. I don't know if we need to do a commercial break, Christine? Okay, we're going to go to commercial. We'll be back in 90 seconds here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com.
Enravio.com.
Stop putting it off and start painting it up today at Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore paints, Sickens, wood finishes, paints, and professional paint supplies, ideal for contractors and homeowners, stain paints and epoxies, family owned and operated, in business for over 55 years, professional and experienced help, located at 2 locations, 55B Route 25, Quorum, Long Island, New York, and 1495 Plaza Montauk Highway, Mastic, New York. Call them at 775-7435 and 775-8135. Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore Paints. Log on to the Enravio advertisers page today.
East End Screen Printing and Embroidery. Shirts for as low as $3 with print.
631-281-TEAS. That's 631-281-TEES. 1355F Montauk Highway, Mastic, Long Island, New York. Go to EastEndSilkscreenPrinting.com for more info.
InRadio.com. The future of radio is now in radio.
Hey, this is Paul Disclafani, the disco portion of the Glory Days with Bruce and Disco show on Sundays, 10 a.m. to noon. It's a sports show with a twist. We have entertainment, music, and whatever you want to talk about. Only on InRadio.com, broadcasting to the world.
Shotgun Sound Studios of New York. Professional sound reinforcements. We rent sound system 100 to 20,000 watts. Monitors, side fills, in-ear monitors, separate monitor mixes. Drum mics. Digital mixing consoles up to 32 tracks. JBL, EV, Behringer, PreSonus. Over 40 years of experience. Shotgun Sound Studios of New York. Phone 1-800-HEY-DUDE for more info.
InRadio.com.
Hey, dude, it's me again. You know, Village Music Shop in Mastic. Anyway, you all know my dog, Mr. Big. Yeah. Well, Dudes and Dudettes Village Music Shop has been in business for over 37 years, serving musicians with the best products and service around. Oh. They have private lessons on all instruments and in all styles of music in their new state-of-the-art digital teaching studios, with the excellent sales and service of guitars, drums, school band instruments, amps, PAs, as well as sheet music, books, and accessories. Basically, dudes, everything musical. Right, Big? Yeah. Chill out. Village Music has rentals on all instruments, even PA systems for your parties and barbecues. Oh, cool. Dudes, Village Music Shop never has a sale on stuff, because every day our prices are lower than all the competition. Stores, internet, whatever, guaranteed. Yeah. So come to Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Phone 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Anyway.
This isn't your grandfather's radio. Not even close. This is InRadio.com.
Oil City Skate Park, Long Island's only indoor skate park. Skateboarding, BMX, inline skating, open 7 days a week. Nearly 150 decks by Baker, Flip, Girl, Chocolate, Real, Plan B, Crimson, Zero, Element, DGK, Bogata, and more. The best in tees, hoodies, wallets, trucks, wheels, bearings, t-shirts, hats, and DVD. New York's largest Santa Cruz dealer. Introducing Jark Skateboard, Europe's best-selling deck. Oil City Skate Park, 3565 Maple Court, Oceanside, New York. Phone 516-442-0706 or go to www.oilcitysk8.com for more info.
Hey, we're back on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRadio.com. And again, with my hosts, the General and the Commish, I'm the Admiral. We're going to jump right back into it. We're going to get into now the Who's Not Hot segment of our show here. And again, we're going to kind of take a look at, basically from the beginning of the season until now, and we'll take it by position. The first position up, obviously, is catcher, and we've got a couple of guys that are off to pretty slow starts. Buster Posey, hitting just 267. A couple of homers, maybe 3 or 4 homers, but not what you would expect from Buster.
No, but I wouldn't worry about it either. A guy like that, you have no choice but to hang in there with him and just ride it out. So, you just stick it out and he'll be fine. It's one of those guys you don't worry about.
Miguel Montero, a guy who's always, put up pretty good numbers. He's always been a solid fantasy catcher. Not elite level production, but somebody that you could feel safe having on your roster. Well, this guy's hitting a $194. He's got a home run and not showing any signs of life.
He had a couple hits last night.
He actually hit a home run last night, I think.
Oh, I
so
think he may have.
he is showing some signs he's coming back. But he's one of the better ones that because catcher's pretty thin, right? From a production standpoint, he's one of the better hitting ones when he's going.
Right. At first base, it breaks my heart to say it because I'm in 4 leagues. I own him in all 4 leagues.
Oh my God, you're out of your mind. You got the wrong Davis.
And
you won Chris Davis.
So here we are looking at an early season slump by my man Ike Davis, who he did it last year. It took him about 2 months to get the bat going. He was great after that, but it looks like it's going to be an annual event with Mr. Davis and the slow starts.
Kamish, your thoughts on Mr. Davis?
Oh.
Where we at? I tell you right now, it's a bad situation. It's terrible. You cannot hang in there with this guy for too much longer.
I had big hopes for him because he was going to compliment right over at third base there, and those two were going to be the anchor of,
Listen,
of
I
the
think
Mets
at this
production.
point, I think Ron Davis could hit better than Ike Davis, his father.
Listen, I'm going to disagree with you only because if you go by the trend last year, the guy was invisible for the first 2 months of the season, and then he went on and had a really nice second half.
He did, but we're
well,
now.
I can
we're
see
now,
that happening again, though.
But we're now in back-to-back years.
Right.
Of
Well, is
horrendous
he going to be
hitting.
one of those second half players? You go back to guys like Adrian Beltre, who used to be, a phenomenal second half player. Maybe that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a half a season out of Davis every
If
year.
I had Davis on my roster right now, here's what I would do. I give it 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. If he doesn't start to show any, I'm not talking about 1-for-4s. If he doesn't show me any kind of reasonable power surge or hitting, my first instinct for me, because I'm like that, I just drop him. I've had enough. But probably I would start benching him and then ride it out till after the All-Star break and then see what happens.
Right.
Well,
He's being platooned right now anyway, almost platooned. He's really not playing against lefties, so even if he is, I'm not starting him anyway. But I'm not quite ready to cut bait with him yet.
If he can't hit lefties, he's a borderline drop right now. That's where we're at. If he's not going to play against them, it's.
Well, time will tell. I'm personally going to hang in there with my boy for at least a few more weeks. But
I give it a couple of weeks, but I don't know, man. You're sucking up a lot.
Yeah, I think
bad
you got to
numbers.
give it a couple of weeks and see what happens.
We'll check back on Ike Davis in a couple of weeks.
So another guy I had high hopes for coming into the season at second base, Jason Kipnis. I actually kept him in one of my leagues because he was the guy that was going to be the next big deal at second base, and here I am looking at a 189 batting average and 1 home run on the year. So Jason,
I love Kipnis. I drafted him this year in our league. He gives you a lot. Up until this year, he's giving you a lot of run production, steals bases, good overall player, especially in a generally weak second base position, right? He actually in the last week and a half is starting to show some signs of life. He had 4 runs batted in the other night. I think he had 1 the other day. So he's starting to. I'm hoping now that May's here, he's going to start kicking in. So
the difference between guys like Kipnis and let's say a guy like Buster Posey is that with Kipnis we've got a short year or 2 of him being in the majors to kind of look at. We don't really have that good warm fuzzy feeling about his production. Whereas with Buster Posey, we know where we stand. Or guys like when Pujols had no homers in April last year, you didn't worry about it. A guy like this, he could be in for one of those really bad years that, because he's such a young player. So you don't know where you're at with him either.
Yeah. Shortstop, Jimmy Rollins, maybe starting to show signs of age. Not off to a great start, hitting about 240. I think he has 1 home run on the year, not stealing a ton of bases. I think the days of him becoming one of the, or being one of the upper echelon shortstops is coming to an end.
It may be coming to an end, but at the very least, he's not hurt. He's playing every day. His numbers aren't horrendous, and he's in a decent lineup. I'm not worried about Rollins.
Okay. You want to break the tie here?
I was never a big fan of Rollins. Sorry, as far as shortstop, he's so streaky to me, and he'll have 1 great year, and then the next year he'll be just terrible.
Yeah.
If you get him in the late rounds, I think that's good as a backup to your shortstop, but I'm not a huge Jimmy Rollins fan.
Okay. Third base, Ryan Zimmerman. Now, I know he's been hurt, but just off to a really, really slow start.
That's the other problem with Zimmerman. He's always hurt.
I'm not a Zimmerman fan anyway.
Yeah.
I never have been. I know you love him.
Yeah,
He's not my kind of guy. I never drafted him. I've never picked him up. I've never tried to trade for him. He's not for me.
He's a good player. He just hasn't taken that next step that I expected him to, and he hasn't gotten there. So, it could be health issues with him, or it could be, maybe we've seen the best we're going to see out of him.
I think that's the problem. He's not on the field long enough, especially when he gets into, he starts getting into a groove and then he goes down injured. And
he's got a guy breathing down his neck, so he better start hitting.
Yes.
Because if Anthony Rendon continues to hit, they're not going to want to be dealing with, Ryan Zimmerman and all his issues and everything else. So.
Yeah. So in the outfield, we've got some real surprises here. A guy that I think was kind of playing pinball in the league at the beginning of last year, who is just off to a really slow start this year, is Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp right now hitting 260. He's got 1 home run, showing some signs of life in the last week or so. So there's hope. But he's a guy that was probably taken in most leagues in the first 5 picks or so. So if you're sitting on Matt Kemp right now,
it's frustrating to own.
Yeah.
Had him last year. Got him through a trade. It was red hot, and then the minute I got him, right in the tank. And then he was hurt after a year.
I think that the thing with Kemp at this point is forget about stolen bases. I think those days are over for him. You're going to start seeing 15s and 20s out of him versus the 40s. And as far as the production
happy
goes,
birthday.
Happy birthday!
So there's your birthday.
Hey, all right.
Thanks,
Chuck.
The guy that gave us our big start here on radio.com.
Thank you, John.
And when you
Thank
make
you.
your first 50 million, like Mike and the Mad Dog, right in the morning, kick back 10%.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
All right, it's ice cream cake, so we're going to have to get into this pretty quickly, I think. Let's put it over there for a minute. And of course, listen, that could have been a pie in the face. Thank you for it being just a cake.
That's the Code Red.
That's the Code Red birthday cake. Very nice. Getting back into it, Giancarlo Stanton.
Oof.
I wound up taking him. I had the 12th pick in a 14-man league in our league, and wound up taking him in the first round. He was the best hitter out there. I had my concerns only because he's hitting in a lineup that doesn't offer a lot of support, but not off to a great start. 227 batting average, 3 home runs on the season. I think they all came this week. And then he went out and got hurt.
Yeah, he was just starting to. He did the same thing last year too,
last
if you
year
remember.
too. In fact, I think last year, the first month, he had 1 home run.
Yeah, he was terrible, and then May comes and he was like a different guy out there. So unfortunately, he got injured this time when he was just starting to heat up.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to
hang
wait
in
until
there.
June on
Just
Mr.
hang in
Stanton.
there. Yeah, he's a beast. So if he comes back, don't worry about that guy. He'll hit. There's no question.
Speaking of beast, Josh Hamilton.
Oof.
He's beastly at this point in time.
216 batting average. 2 home runs on the year. I got to say, I mean, I
he's
knew.
lost.
Well, I knew him moving from Texas to LA was going to be a problem. I didn't think it was going to be a big problem, but you're going from a hitter's park to a somewhat of a pitcher's park, and here's a guy that you would think going into a stacked lineup like the Angels have, with all the protection around him, with guys sitting in front of him, guys sitting behind him, I don't care what park you're in, you should be putting up some pretty good numbers. So not much out of Josh right now.
I think you got to, he's going to hit. But, when these guys change their environment, and it happened to Pujols last year, now it's happening to Hamilton this year. I don't think it really happened to Prince Fielder when he kind of just kept right on.
Yeah, he was one of the exceptions.
But, you notice how these guys, they change their environment, they sign these big contracts, and you can see it. Everyone says it doesn't affect me, doesn't affect me, doesn't affect me, but it ends up affecting them.
Right.
You're making $25, $30 million a year, and you're not hitting. Guess what?
It happens to a lot of people.
You're bringing that to the plate with you. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, look at B.J. Upton this year. Same thing.
Yeah.
He goes into to Atlanta, winds up playing with his brother. So I'm sure there's a little bit of a pressure situation there for B.J. And he's one of the guys that just off to a terrible start right now. He's hitting a $134. He's got a couple of home runs, and he's a guy who has always been very streaky, though. So I will say he's a guy that you should hang in with, because when he gets hot, you're going to want to have him on your roster.
And let's face it, they can't piss off his brother by doing anything.
Right.
So the Braves are stuck with that entire scenario, regardless of the outcome. Why don't they bring their father in to be the manager and be all set?
You have a Ripken scenario there, right?
All right, let's get into a couple of pitchers that are just off to putrid starts. David Price, what is up there? 1 win,
That's
You know,
shocking.
ERA over 5, and just very surprising.
If he's not injured, don't worry.
No, you're right. He'll come around. Matt Cain, another guy who you would just expect. He's been a very consistent pitcher over the last few years, and he's winless right now. He's got an ERA. He's sporting an ERA of about 6.5.
That's a mystery.
That's a mystery. Nothing that I'm hearing that he's hurt or there's anything going on there, but.
That's really strange because he's been one of the most consistent fantasy pitchers probably the last 3 or 4 years, easily. Gives you strikeouts, low earned run average, eats up innings. It's just shocking to see what's going on here.
Yeah, I think you kind of need to ride it out with Kane and
You have no choice. You're stuck with him. I mean, regardless of how he's pitching, you burn the draft pick on him. I mean, he's not hurt. He's playing at a pitcher's ballpark. All the things are positive going in his direction. I don't know what the weather's been like in the games he's pitched or what the deal is.
Yeah, well, weather's been a big issue so far.
I mean, you're stuck with the guy. You just ride it out, keep going. I mean, the only thing you can do is sit him for a start here and there if the matchup doesn't look good. But other than that, you just run with him. That's all you can do.
And how about R.A. Dickey, folks?
Ooh. Another
Cy
guy.
Young Award winner last year. The Blue Jays give up the farm for him.
He's pitching in a real league now, where men come to the plate with corked bats, ready to do some business. No more of this National League nonsense where we pitch to a 7-man batting order.
Listen, R.A., first he's had a couple of health issues already.
Yeah.
But I think the knuckler is not doing what it did last year right now. I mean, he was one of those unique knuckleball pitchers who could throw the knuckleball, with some speed. And that's what made him so damn good last year. And this year, he's just off to a terrible start. And you're right. I think the shift to the American League has something to do with it.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. He's facing the DH now, and that makes a difference. But, I'm not sure at his age, and I understand he's a knuckleball pitcher, but I'm not sure at his age that, we've seen the best we're going to see out of R.A. Dickey. And I think it may be all downhill, as they say.
I don't know. With those guys, you can never tell. Wakefield hung on for years with that 4 ERA, pitching in the American League and getting those spot starts. And every year you thought he was done, he'd come back again. I think he could hang on for a few more years.
Well, but I think the level that we saw him pitch at last year was an anomaly. I don't think we're going to see that again.
No.
I think you're right.
Knuckleball and strike out 200 guys.
Not going to happen.
It's not.
Yeah, I think the next few years we'll see him, but I think you're going to see statistics similar to what you got out of Wakefield. Which are going to be usable, but just not, to a level that you would hope for out of a very recent Cy Young Award winner. And the last guy I want to talk about, unless you guys have anybody else, is Gio Gonzalez, who, kind of fell off the table so far this year. He's 2-2. He's got a 5.34 ERA. He's coming off an off season where he was. There were rumors about links to some shady. Suppliers of.
He wanted to take a little of that.
How can I say this?
The brawn advantage.
The dealer antler spray.
The cream.
So we're not so sure what to make of him right now. I mean, he, maybe what we've seen out of him was enhanced.
Nah, I kind of feel like more of the same with him. If he's not hurt, he had a good 7-inning performance his 2 starts ago. I think his last start was shaky. Washington's had probably bad weather. I don't know. They have a good team, decent bullpen. They can hit. I wouldn't worry about him either right now. He's not scaring me too much.
All right. On to the relievers. We've got J.J. Putz.
He's putzing up the saves.
J.J. Putz. 4 blown saves already, guys.
Yeah.
The season is young. I mean, this is a guy, we might be talking about next week in our closer carousel segment, in our, save circus segment. I mean, this is a guy that, 4 blown saves already. He's got a couple of guys behind him in Heath Bell and Hernandez who, we may not be seeing.
Well, that's
JJ
exactly right. You got to
longer.
start looking at those guys, see if they're out there on the waiver wire, and go pick them up if you got a spot.
I guarantee you guys like Heath Bell are probably out there. But the thing is, it's like, Heath Bell might get the job, and then he'll have it for 3 weeks, and somebody else will have it. If you get out of the top 5 or 6 closers, you get away from Mariano, you get away from Papelbon, you get away from those top few guys, Fernando Rodney, Chapman. After you get out of those first 6 or 7, the drop-off and the security level of where this guy is in his job is off the charts.
Well, look what we've seen already. I mean, we've got the Boston situation where we had Hanrahan as a closer. The guy gets hurt. and Andrew Bailey steps in and pitches lights out, and they give him the job. It's his job now to lose. Well, what does he do? He goes out and gets hurt immediately when Hanrahan came back, and now Hanrahan is the closer again, I guess, until Bailey, he's got some elbow issues, or actually, I think it was a biceps tendonitis issue. So, it's just
incredible.
You never know with some of these
There's
teams.
so many. I mean, St. Louis,
Chicago.
Arizona, Boston, Detroit. I'm probably leaving 10 out.
The Mets.
We're only
as a
5, 6
possibility.
weeks in.
Yeah.
And it's a mess with these closers. So
Yeah, I mean, look what happened in Chicago alone. We went from Marmol to who was the second guy they pulled out of the wreckage there?
Fujikawa.
Well, who didn't pitch badly, by the
Who
way.
may be pitching again for them.
Wound up getting hurt, and then they who they go
Now
with?
they've got they pulled Kevin Gregg.
Oh,
They
Kevin
arrested
Gregg
Kevin
off the
Gregg.
scrap heap. And
He was sitting home, and they called him up and said, "Would you mind throwing the ball for about 20 minutes and then come on down?" Basically, that's where we're at with these
the
closers.
guy was, sitting home on his living room couch, and a couple days later he's saving games.
This is where we're at. This is all you need to know. Kevin Gregg sitting home waiting for a call. Jose Valverde sitting home waiting for a call.
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Rodriguez, our old Met favorite, sitting home waiting for a call. All three of them got that call. All three of them are now on a team, and all three of them are hoping to be the closer in the next week or two. Probably none of them were drafted. That's where you're at with closers.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
And that's what it's going to continue to be.
It's a mess.
St. Louis, same way, right? That's
St.
another
Louis,
one.
St. Louis, they went from Jason Mott, who now's got Tommy John. They went to Mitchell Boggs, thinking they had it all figured out.
Boggs just got sent
Boggs
down,
got
by the
blown
way.
up.
He got blown
sent
up. He
down.
just got sent down.
Then they said, well, we're going to go to Trevor, what's his name? Rosenthal.
Rosenthal.
So then that didn't really pan out to move. And then they actually went to Mujica, which actually turned out to be the move. It was a good move.
And just yesterday, they just called up this kid, Carlos Martinez, throws close to 100 miles an
Throws gas,
hour. And although this is another one, had a different name back in 2009 when the Red Sox
You
drafted
ain't
him.
cheating, you ain't trying.
Where's
the wisdom from the general?
We don't really know how old he is.
Yeah,
I want to meet his Little League coach.
Yes, which means he's really 39 years old.
Right, he's probably 39, but he may be in that mix now too. They slot him from the 7th inning on.
He's Altuve's grandfather.
All right, so I think that's a wrap on the Who's Not. It looks like we have a couple of minutes left, so we'll. You guys want to go to a couple of tweets?
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right, we've got a tweet from a guy who's actually either a very religious man or thinks very highly of himself, Stephen God. And Stephen God wants to know, Jorge Bonifacio or Alberto Mondesi, who do we think is the better prospect?
In the father and son league, or in Major League Baseball, Stephen.
Listen, here's the deal, Stephen. You're obviously a Royals fan to begin with, because those are two of the more prominent Kansas City Royal prospects. But you're digging deep, my friend. We've got a guy who's 17 years old in Mondesi, who shortstop. Definitely a lot of promise, but hasn't played professional ball more than, I think it was a half a year in rookie league last year. They project him as a 5-tool player. Some power, probably not as much as his dad, Raul Mondesi. But, good speed, good glove, good hands, good arm. Projects out as a pretty good prospect. And then you go over to Bonifacio, who is the younger brother of Emilio. And, again, a good prospect.
How old are these guys?
Well, here's the deal. I mean,
Stephen
we've got,
God, call me. If I'm still sitting here in 5 years, you can give me that same question.
Stephen's preparing now for the 2017 draft.
You're getting out in front of it, Stephen. Good for you. The general salutes you.
Well, listen, Bonifacio, another good prospect, actually kind of moved up the ranks in the organization with the departure of Will Myers. I think he's right now rated the number 4 prospect in the Royals organization. So, again, he's 20 years old. We probably won't see him for a couple of years. If I had to choose between the two, if you want me to project, from diapers to the big leagues, I'll probably, I think Mondesi probably has a little more upside. So thanks for checking in, Steve. And we've also.
I have no opinion on either player until they start shaving regularly. Then I'll get back to you.
All right, we're going to do one more quick one, and then I think we're out of time. We're going to do the LI Snapper would like us to give our opinions on Jordan Pacheco and his prospects for the rest of the season.
They're limited at best.
Limited
Long
at
Island
best.
Snapper.
I could probably answer that in 2 words. Nolan Arenado. Pacheco, a decent hitter, but a guy that is not going to get a lot of playing time from here on.
He doesn't hit. Even if he did play, he doesn't hit enough anyway.
Going to be used as a utility guy probably for the rest of the year. I don't see that he's going to help you a whole lot, L.I. Snapper. But thank you very much, and thank you all for tuning in to our first broadcast.
Good job, man.
Good job, fellas. Christine in the
thank you very much.
In the production
Thank
booth.
you, Christine.
Working the controls for us. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week, and we will see you every Saturday from 11 to noon here on InRavio.com.